Welcome to That Guy Talks Movies. I am that guy talking movies, and on this episode, we are talking about the latest in the Apes saga, Planet of the Apes, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Long title, I know, but let's get into it. I enjoyed this movie. I'm going to put that right up front. I thought it was good. Had a couple of things that were not so good, but for the most part, a worthy part of the franchise so far, which for the most part has been a pretty worthwhile franchise in general. I mean, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes, I expected something a little bit different with that one, but nonetheless, it rounded everything out the right way. This one picks up, and this one, incidentally, is also going to be the beginning of another trilogy. So it's sort of, they're starting it. There's going to be two more films after this one. This was directed by Wes Ball, the guy who did the Maze Runner films, and it's written by Josh Friedman, who did War of the Worlds script. He did the story for Avatar, Avatar 2, Avatar 3, and he's supposed to be doing the script for Avatar 4. I didn't even know they were going that far, but apparently that's what Wikipedia and IMDb says. So, this is, from a plot standpoint, let's just get into what's happening here. Many years after the reign of Caesar, a young ape goes on a journey that will lead him to question everything he's been taught about the past and make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. That's what this whole thing is about. And it stars Owen Teague as that lead ape, Noah. It's got Freya Allen, who plays the human in this film, named May or Nova. Kevin Durant plays Proximus Caesar, who is the villain in this film. And Peter McCone plays Raka, who is like a wise sage orangutan hanging out on his own. I want to start by saying, again, I enjoy the Planet of the Apes series that so far that preceded this one. But I'm also a big fan of the original Planet of the Apes, the 1968 Charlton Heston films, which hold a place for me. Only the first one. I'd say the first and second one, because they made like a whole series of ape films out there. They did Planet of the Apes, Escape from Planet of the Apes, Return to Planet of the Apes, Going Back to Planet of the Apes, in the Planet of the Apes in the Hood, Planet of the Apes, they did so many of them. But I enjoy those films. And there were parts of this, when we get into the story of this particular film, there were parts of this that reminded me, and obviously they intentionally shot it as such, where the ape kingdom is already established. They're the reigning, species on a planet. And then the humans are kind of like, living in like cavemen or like slaves or whatever. They're wrangled up by the apes on horses, and they grab them and they throw them in cages and they do the whole thing. So they shot those similar scenes in this film, and it obviously is an ode to those films. So, the difference though, is the original films, even though there was less technology, the CGI, obviously the special effects, and it would look a little, not as advanced. It was a hell of a lot spookier, some of those scenes, when the apes were coming after them and the humans are kind of hiding in the long weeds and the grass, whatever it was, and the music was kind of creepy. Even in this film, they harkened back to that music, some of the drums, some of the steel drum, the things that were happening. They used it here, and I thought they did a good job. Overall, again, really good film. I think the CGI here, we're getting to the point where it's just flawless, right? Like you really can't tell what's what. And they've done a fantastic job with the chimps, the apes, and the orangutan and gorillas. They've done an incredible job. But with that said, I will say this. There were moments during the film where I'm watching some of the dialogue scenes between the apes, between Noah, the main ape, and his posse, his clan. And I felt like even though the original film was kind of really campy, like really cheesy as far as the costumes, what the apes wore, like they were wearing like leather outfits and stuff, and the masks were obviously not as advanced, right? It was what it was, right? For some reason, as silly as that looks, this sometimes looked even sillier, even though the apes looked more real. I don't know if anyone else is with me on that. Let me know in the comments below if you kind of get what I'm saying. But there were times when I was watching it and I was like, something about this just seems equally as silly as what was going on back then. Anyway, I digress. Let's just get into more of the good stuff here. And again, that would be the way it looks and story-wise. I mean, there's a lull in this, right? So in the beginning, I felt myself kind of almost dozing off. There is some sort of setting up of the clan. This takes place generations after Caesar. So Caesar's kind of like this iconic god that set the whole Planet of the Apes kingdom to where it is now. And it's kind of like all of his laws and stuff are kind of like the thing that everyone worships. And there are different clans of apes all over the place. And this one clan, Noah's clan, they commune and hang out with eagles, and they raise eagles and such. And he's this adventurous kind of kid. I don't know if he's a teen going through like the rites of passage and like sort of like going from a boy to a man kind of thing. It's kind of where they set him up. And basically his village, his clan is raided, and he's got to go try to find his mother and find other people and all this other stuff. And that's basically what happens. And one of the humans kind of tags along and joins him. I'm not giving spoilers. That's why I'm kind of talking very vague right now, but that's really what happens. That's what this is. And for most of that journey, most of the first hour of the film, it is kind of just like trotting along. And there's some stuff that it wasn't that entertaining and that engaging. And that's also because of the fact that there's missing a real threat here, or stakes, I should say. So if you look at the original Planet of the Apes, so you've got, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and you've got, Dawn, where you've got Caesar becoming Caesar, right? And the whole backstory to that and how this whole thing happens in the first place. And then the second one, you've got them finally on their own, the apes trying to do their own thing, and the humanity is still kind of trying to hang on there, right? So by this one here, and then the war one, you've got that whole situation with the soldiers and Woody Harrelson's character, and there's this fight, is humanity versus the apes, and he wants to wipe them out and do this whole thing, and he has his own way of doing things. This one, you've got the ape kingdom is already established. It's already there. They're kind of chilling. And like I said, it goes back to the original Planet of the Apes, where it feels as if the humans are kind of just accepted their fate. They're just kind of like scavengers on the side here and there. The apes are ruling everything. But with that said, there's no real bad guy in this, or real tension or anything really happening until you get to the kingdom that Proximus Caesar is ruling in. Proximus Caesar is a bad guy. He's basically a rogue ape who has essentially anointed himself as a god, Caesar-like. He even called himself Proximus Caesar, and he quotes Caesar, but he kind of distorts Caesar's law. It's kind of like religion in the way I kind of thought about that, like the idea that if years ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there was this religious figure, and he had certain ideas and philosophies and beliefs, and through the generations they kind of got distorted, and people had their own little factions of that religion based on the original, but people took it their own way and anointed themselves as like, no, I interpret it this way. Anyway, once again, I digress. But so Proximus is this bad guy, and he has a plan to do something. The humans are involved in it as well, and that's really what this whole thing is. It's like a lead up to get to that point in the story. And I think with the action scenes, when you get to him, his performance is really, really good. And when you get to him as a bad guy, it starts to work. It starts to move a lot better. And you watch our main protagonists go through what they go through. It works. There are some flaws to it. Immediately what stood out for me was the character, the female character, the human character, played by Freya Allen, who plays May, or Nova. To me, immediately, she looked like she just stepped out of a Banana Republic ad, right? Like she's got like the clothing, even though it was frayed and supposed to look like she's, surviving, whatever. She just looked too, I don't know. She just looked too polished and too model-like. And of course, that's a Hollywood thing, right? They've got to cast some woman who's an attractive type, and she's got a leading whatever. So that's what they did. But for me, it was kind of distracting because, again, she just looked like, I don't know, one of Leo's girlfriends or something. The other thing was, there were some holes in the way the final act unfolds, and like some of the things that they have to do and what's happening. Again, no spoilers, but the way it all unfolds, there are a couple of holes. I'm like, how did that happen? When did they get there? What's going on? And anyway, nothing to make me say it's a bad film, though. I think overall it is a worthy addition to the overall franchise. I think the action scenes were well done. The CGI is fantastic. It's worth going to see in the theater for sure. If you see it in IMAX, see it in IMAX. I did not see it in IMAX, but I sort of might rethink that and might go see it a second time and see it in IMAX. I think I'll probably enjoy it more the second time. You should see this movie. Let me know what your thoughts were. You anticipating seeing this movie? Have you seen this movie? What are your thoughts on the film? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like hearing people talk about movies and me talk about movies, I'm that guy talking about movies and collecting home media and random stuff like that. If you've not subscribed to this channel, now would be the time to subscribe to the channel. Provide you with all sorts of fun things when it comes to film. To my subscribers, the people who already hang out and people who already know me and continue to stick with me, appreciate y'all. I'll always tell you that. And hit that like button on the way out. I truly appreciate that as well. And again, Planet of the Apes, Kingdom of the Apes. Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your feedback, all right? Let me know how you feel about the original, about this one, about the whole franchise, the stuff that's coming up. I kind of want to see what happens with the stuff coming up. I want to see if they're ever going to get to the point where they remake the version, like the idea of the astronauts who left Earth and they travel through time and then they land on the planet and all that is happening. I just want to see if they're going to go through that again and see if they're going to put that somewhere in this timeline. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough for me and That Guy Talks Movies. I will see you on the next one. Peace.